Has there ever been a role that you've not been able to take because there's something that they're asking you to do that's not moral or not, something that you want to be a part of?
In community theater, there's not very many shows being put on where that would come up. It's more, I'm in Mary Poppins. Ah, yeah. Wonderful.
Well, that's evil. Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins, super evil. Now, see, I just feel like I'm showing all these weird parts of me because you said, what's your favorite monologue? And I'm like, this one from a show I won't even tell you. What's your favorite show? What about murderers? So.
It's good we get to know you. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, my name is Emma Selle. The Selle doesn't look like that's how it's said, but that's my name. And I'm going into my second year at Trinity and CPC, and I'm a theater major and a business minor just starting this year.
That's so you can manage yourself in the theater business.
Pretty much, because it is in fact a business. So it's nice to know how that sort of thing works as well as the art kind of thing. So
where do you live? Like, what city are you in?
I'm in Spokane, Washington right now. So the east side of the state. Mm-hmm.
I didn't know you were American.
I am American, yes. Lots of people don't know that. They just kind of assume people think I'm Albertan. I don't know.
Oh.
I know. It's just they assume. And I'm like, no, I'm American. So
how did you hear about Trinity Western and Catholic Pacific in that?
It was nowhere on my radar at all. And then my friend Andrea, who I've been really close friends with since we were both pretty young, is a year ahead of me. And she was getting ready to go to schools. And she heard about Trinity through her church, I think. Of course, you have those conversations of where are you going next year, yada, yada. And so she told me. And that's the first I'd ever heard of it. And it was never somewhere I was going to go because I was like, okay, that's great for you, Andrea. I'm not going to Canada and I'm not going to evangelical college. Have fun. And then she went and she left for her first year and suddenly I was having to look at schools and she said, Emma, I really think you should come up here because I was trying to find, it's hard to find a very Catholic college that will also have a good theater degree for you. Those
no kidding.
Don't really mix. And she said, Emma, we have a really good theater department. And I said, Andrea, it's an evangelical Christian college. I'm looking at Catholic colleges. And she said, okay, so fine, but there is a Catholic college.
Does that count?
Yeah. And I said, okay, that is intriguing. I'll go up and look at it. Sometimes you go into just a Christian environment and they're weirded out by the fact that you're Catholic. And it's a whole thing. But we came and looked and everyone was very nice. And the fact that I was Catholic didn't faze anyone. I was like, oh, that's nice. And then I went and looked at CPC. And it just had a very home sort of feeling.
Okay, well, let me back up a step here. Are you cradle Catholic?
I am cradle Catholic, yes. It's sort of, my parents started a new wave of Catholicism because both of their families historically were Catholic, but then by the time you got to their families, it was a little less so. And so at different points in both of their lives, they had a sort of reawakening in their own faith. And so by the time they ended up having kids, it was very important to them to raise their kids Catholic, obviously, but make sure that we all knew what that meant.
When did you make your faith your
own? Probably when I was about 13, I want to say, because it was kind of a hard season for our family because my father very suddenly had to find a new job. And in finding a new job, we had to move. And it was the first time we had moved as a family since like before I was born. So moving itself was difficult because you have 8 people in a house and all of their stuff. And so I was having a really hard time and kind of not super into mass every time I went. I was like, what? Could we not? Just 1 week. It would be nice. Sleep in, maybe. And then suddenly it just shifted and it became a very important part in all that hardship to not only go to mass, but to be involved in faith beyond mass and make it part of my actual day-to-day life. And it made everything easier, not everything harder. I don't even know what happened. It just went from being another thing to deal with to what helped me deal with everything.
Right. So, well, yeah, maybe a constant in a bit of turmoil.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The first question is more stage or more film?
Right. Okay. I don't have much experience with film anyway, and it's sort of a different kind of acting altogether that I would say more stage, mostly just because that's what I know,
Right.
and it's where I'm comfortable. But I would never completely reject film. So,
But it's
yeah,
not something you're currently like working towards. It's
no, I'm a very stage theater gal.
okay. Both can be a very toxic environment.
Yes, they
And
can.
so, where do you see a conflict coming? And do you already sense it coming? And how do you think you're going to deal with a tension between theater and your faith?
I don't see a big tension with being in theater as a Catholic. I don't feel like that's something I shouldn't do as a Catholic.
Not something innately wrong with it. Right?
Exactly, which is interesting because a lot of people, especially older people in my church, have expressed concern, like it's something I shouldn't be doing. And I don't see any of that tension. The main tension is when it changes people's view of you, especially people that might be casting you and they suddenly don't because they're worried you'll bring something weird to the environment.
Right.
So it's mostly an interpersonal thing and that more practical, can I get to mass on the weekends thing. But I think it's important to have Catholics in every part of life, especially those parts that are sort of don't have them right now, like theater. Because obviously I think we bring something important to the table, and I think I can bring it in those environments, especially that get more toxic and a little bit less healthy every now and again, and sort of be that healthy presence there.
Good. Well, you know what? Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the opportunity to get to know you.
Yeah, I don't talk very much when I'm at CPC, so this was the only way anyone was going to get to know anything about me. So.